first and 10 from the Bears 15. Addison in motion to the left. Takes the snap. Now a four-man rush. McCarthy to the end zone. And caught! Yes! Jordan Addison! Just in the nick of time! And we're tied at 16! He's PJ McCarthy! Well done! Reichert kicking it to the east side of U.S. Bank Stadium. Boom. A shorter kick by design. Duvernay from his own 3, heads right, 5, 10, 15, 20. Gets a nice block from Blackwell. Eric Wilson trying to run him down with Will Reichert. And Josh Blackwell make that Devin Duvernay out of bounds deep in Vikings territory. Devin Duvernay with a cold-blooded return of 57 yards.
The Analyst
is Pete Bercich at Pete Bercich via X. Very active on YouTube these days. Learn more about that via YouTube and just search like Pete Bercich 5'6". You'll get the Eye in the Sky film breakdowns. Sukup Manufacturing, thank you very much. Sukup Manufacturing and Sukup.com brings us The Analyst each and every Monday, 9 to noon. And you know, off the YouTube depth chart deep dive you put on via Eye in the Sky. And that was really, really cool that you did that. I really enjoyed that. As yesterday's game unfolded, Mr. Analyst, how much on said chart was telling the story of the game we were calling?
Yeah, I think quite a bit of it. I mean, the Bears in their story on defense continued with the unbelievable plus 14 that they brought in and the plus 16 that they left with and the 22 turnovers that they have created this year. So that, I mean, that part of it stood in there or was there. I mean, the defense played, I think, to the level that they do. I mean, the opportunities that this offense had and left on the table, especially in the first quarter and a half of this football game. It would have looked like exactly what was described coming into it, having a harder time getting to the quarterback, giving up a lot of yards, 6.3 yards per play, 31st in the league in yards per play passing. I mean, just, you know, it would have gone the exact same way. And then offensively, you know, the one big drive they had 14 plays. They ran the ball 11 times. I mean, that's the running game, right? 183.4 yards per game since week 6 going in. So a lot of that stayed true to form in that regard. And I don't think in that respect, now you asked me that question, it was much different than how we kind of laid it out going into it.
They're you know, in most games, but specifically Vikings Bears with O'Connell as the head coach. There's an overarcher here that absolutely is a common thread. We discussed it multiple times yesterday. The Chicago Bears, like Pete said, were plus 14 in the take-give into the game. The Vikings were minus 7. The Bears won that category, and they won the game. In O'Connell's 2 losses to the Bears, in the first one at U.S. Bank Stadium, the Vikings were minus 2 in the turnovers. Yesterday, they lost the turnover battle again and lost the game to the Bears. Different Bears team now than it was a couple of years ago. But with this individual team, with this nice head coach who knows how to manipulate offense and try to go quick strike or have long drives, you lose the turnover battle to these guys, and you're probably going to lose the game.
You're definitely, it's like anything. I think if you're minus 2, you have about a 17% chance of winning the football game. It's I was reading a study that it was up to the end of 2024, so it doesn't include this season, but there were only 3 teams in the NFL last year that were at 500 or above that were negative in the take-give, and all 3 of those teams were minus. 2 of them were minus 1, one of them was minus 2. One of them was the Philadelphia Eagles. I forget who the other 2 were. So that one stat is as indicative to success as any other stat that's out there. And we are on the tail end of that one right now, being minus 9. So What are you going to fix first? Well, that's one thing that you need to stop. I mean, Caleb Williams last year sacked 68 times, but protected the football pretty well. He's been sacked 16 times now this year, and only how many interceptions is he looking at?
Caleb?
4.
Three or 4.
He had 4. So the struggles that he's had, he at least hadn't thrown the football away a ton. And that's our problem right now. Somehow we've got to fix that. I think the Byard interception was just a great play by him. I'm going to believe that until one of the coaches here tells me something differently, or if I hear differently. Just as a flat defender, him, reading the play, seeing JJ coming across and then just bailing underneath it. It's kind of like a cover 2 kind of a look. You see that a lot with cover 2 corners, but he was a deep third defender and got back underneath one. So that one I'm not mad at. The underthrow to Jordan Addison that Sean Wright got. It's amazing. Deshaun Wright gets one thrown right to him in the end zone last week, and he drops it. And this week he goes up and becomes a wide receiver and brings that thing down. But that one was underthrown as well. So I think JJ's was hit, or his arm was hit as he was throwing it, and maybe caused it to fall a little short. But they take points off the board. One of them created points for the Bears. The other one took points off the board for the Vikings.
Yep.
And that's not even including the miss to Jordan Addison earlier, the drop that Jordan Addison had, the miss to Justin Jefferson on the previous drive. So early on in the game, we left at least 6 points on the board. You count that last interception, that's 9. I mean, that's the game right there. That's the game. We want to dig deeply and find out what the problem is. The problem is, it's pretty simple. When the plays are there, you got to make them. The calls that were made, I mean, how can you fault the play calling? You got guys running wide open all over the place, right? We've seen JJ come out and fire a 154.2 rating on the first 2 drives, 11.6 on the yards per attempt, right? Best in the NFL in the first 2 drives going into the Bears game. And it was there again. Again, it was there. All you got to do is hit your target or catch the football. One of the two. You guys are professionals. That should be expected of you, and you don't do that. So a lot of things held true to form going into this game, that part in particular as well. But the play calling, I mean, what they're calling, it's there. We just got to execute it. We didn't give up any sacks, which is a huge positive. That needs to continue as well to let the quarterback get more and more comfortable back there. But there are opportunities, man. That one is painful to watch. I know as a former player or a coach, that a game like that is just painful to watch because it was all right there, right? If you have 12 penalties like you did a week ago, then you got something to be mad about, something we got to fix. This one. Ugh. I mean, what do you do? Catch the ball? Obviously, you see what I'm saying? It's a gut wrencher, man. They're not going to feel any better walking out of the facility today after seeing the opportunities that were missed.
Okay, now offensively, too many gives. We know that, but 3 interceptions defensively, 3 interceptions through 3 games is the worst number in the history of Minnesota Vikings football. It was through 9 games. So it's only getting worse now through 10. I bet Grenard plays next week, so it's full throttle defensively. And if Ryan Kelly moves into center, which I wouldn't be surprised if he did, this whole thing could go full throttle. But 3 interceptions through 10 games. Your thoughts?
I think a lot of that has to do with not playing with the lead, not having an offense that needs to get after it. I think about the Indy game last year where we didn't have a sack that entire game, and then the last drive of the game, I think we sacked the quarterback 3 times. Right? Why? Because they were behind. It was a 2-minute situation. They had to score. It's that situational part of the game by not playing with a lead really affects that. It really does, because offenses don't need to be as aggressive. Some of it's just, we had some tips yesterday and the ball is, how many times you've seen him tip the ball, it's up in the air and then there's just nobody near it. Sometimes those things go your way, sometimes they don't. I think that might be one of the biggest parts. I mean, the sacks, we had 26 on the season. So we're not horrible, in that regard. We're top 10 in sack rate, meaning the percentage of sacks is passes that we face. So we're getting pressure on the quarterback. We're just not either in the right place, but I do believe the main thing is not playing with the lead. So offenses don't feel the pressure to have to make things happen. They don't have to get down the field. Right, they can just hand the ball off. They can throw it incomplete and punt. They're not pushing as much against this defense. This defense faced more passing attempts last year than any other defense in the league, and it's quite the opposite this year. So teams being able to run the football as well. You're just seeing more runs. So you get more runs, you're going to see less interceptions. Right? There's a little bit of all of that wrapped into that big number. It's not one thing, I don't think.
Hey, Pete, I thought I was going to see more runs out of J.J. McCarthy than I saw yesterday, as in 0. And I'm just curious if there was anything that popped in your head in terms of something the Bears were doing to mitigate that opportunity. You were mentioning that first interception. I think that's a great example of it. Also, later, where Addison became a DB and kind of broke that pass up between Brisker and Stevenson, where Fries was back 7 yards into McCarthy's lap and he still let that thing go. Like, was there anything in terms of, I wonder if there was an emphasis to keep him in the pocket, because he was kind of militant about it yesterday. We didn't see him using his legs at all. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, that's an asset for the kid. And we didn't see any of it. It is.
Yeah, you didn't see a lot of him getting to the top of his drop, not seeing what's there, and then pulling that thing down and running. And sometimes that's a blessing. Sometimes it's a mistake. That comes with time, knowing when to raise the white flag and just pull that thing down. I don't think he's the guy that you want to have a bunch of called runs with, just because of the injury history and everything else. I just. Quarterbacks who depend on the run a lot when they're young, they're going to get beat up. They have to make the transition into a passer. And, so you're kind of making that decision and saying, we got to get him in the pocket and we got to get him ready. You don't want to turn him into Kirk Cousins, but at the same time, you have to sit back there and let some of these routes, develop. You're right though. We didn't see a lot of bootlegs. We didn't see a lot of run pass option, or getting them out, getting them outside the pocket, moving them around. Maybe that has something to do with the fundamentals of the whole thing, or they're just not comfortable or feeling great about him out on the edges of the defense. Yeah. I don't know. Well, that's a question I can't really answer, but what you saw or what you think you saw is correct. He was staying in the pocket yesterday. I'll tell you that. He was hanging in there and didn't have to scramble a whole lot. He didn't get pressured immediately very often. It wasn't as if he got to the top of his drop and he had somebody on him right away. He had time yesterday, which is really a great thing. It's been 2 weeks in a row we face teams that are struggling to get to the quarterback, and we've protected them, I think, pretty, much better than we have in the beginning of the season.
This isn't the first time we've seen it, Pete, during Kevin O'Connell's tenure. I remember if it was 2023, where there had been some conversation through the first couple of games. The Chargers were in town, and people are like, hey, you got to run the ball more. And I think he started off that Chargers game with like 6 consecutive runs. Well, yesterday in the opening drive, it was kind of similar, where people have been clamoring after the Ravens loss, like, we want to establish the run, help out the kid. Well, you saw Aaron Jones with 5 carries on that opening drive. Sadly, it doesn't find its way to points. But in all, I thought that, and we can nitpick specific moments, I thought there was more attention and commitment to the run yesterday, and I saw some positive things from it. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I believe when Jordan Mason, on the drive where Jordan Mason ended up scoring a touchdown, that was probably the first time in a long time that we kind of wore the defense out, meaning, Jordan Mason's, normally that would have been an 8-9 yard gain, but he's running through arm tackles. I mean, we had him, right? We had worn him down a little bit, and Mason was able to break through some and score and score a touchdown. So at that point, however, when the quarter, at that point, I think McCarthy's passer rating was hovering around 16, right? So there was nothing, throwing the football maybe wasn't an option at that moment. You had to let the kid settle down a little bit and just get him to hand the football off. And it ended up being successful. So it's an ebb and flow. I don't know. Aaron Jones just didn't look to me like Aaron Jones yesterday. There's just something there. I don't know if there's any there. But
I don't. Sorry to clip here. Clip here. But off what you just said with us on short time, it's my belief that coming off that hamstring for Aaron Jones, and you would know more than me, man, because you played the game.
That wasn't fast enough to pull a hamstring.
But like when you come back, you're not just like, oh wow, everything's great, perfect, 10 out of 10. Is like with that, and like with Van Ginkel and the neck and everything that goes with it. You're cleared to come back so you can play without worrying about hurting yourself for the next 50 years. But there still is a gradual, with conditioning and belief in it and strengthening. So I actually believe after, some conversations in the locker room yesterday that I think Jones is either right there or has pushed through with this hammy where it's now like hit legit moving forward. Same thing with Van Ginkel. And we could kind of tell the way he played in the second half that mentally and physically, I think things have gotten, to where they absolutely need to be with him to become effective. So that's why I clipped.
Yeah, and to your point, Paul, it doesn't take much to be off. It's not like you got to be 20% off to look off. It's such a speed game now, an athletic game, that if you're just off a little bit, I think it's noticeable. So my point with all this, he still played very well. It's just he seemed to miss a little bit of the zip and it's hard to even describe, right? Just the explosiveness. I'll put it that way, that you normally see or we have seen out of him before. And you're right. When you're gone for an extended period of time and you come back, you're going to feel great that first game or two. And then then the body starts the conditioning parts has to take over and kick in, and then you get yourself back up. That's what training camp used to be. You beat yourself into a pulp. You feel like crap after 2 weeks, but then 3-4 weeks into it, you start to get better and better and better and better. And then you hit the regular season in stride. So I do believe you're correct in that, and that both those guys getting their sea legs back underneath them.
Yeah.
Will continue to ascend the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, getting the sea legs. All right, my brother. I will see you Saturday. We'll go to Appleton. We'll hang out at one of the same four places we've hung out with. Hung out at 28, 29, 30, 40 times. And
catch the 7:30 a.m. bus.
Yep. Get up, take that nice long drive to Lambeau, which is football Americana. I love calling games at Lambeau Field, being on the field in the pregame. The place is the bomb. So see you this weekend. We'll see what happens, all right?
All right, sounds good, man.
Later, Pete Bercich, at Pete Bercich via X. And there, assumedly, you can learn more about his Eye in the Sky video production he's now doing via YouTube. So go to YouTube and just search Pete Bercich numbers 5-6. It'll take you right to the channel. He put at least a couple up last week, and they were quite good. Vikes Bites around the corner. PJ Fleck, coach of the Golden Gophers football team, 15-20 minutes from now.
Talking about McCarthy, yes, he's young. Yes, he's played few games. Yes, we have to have patience. But we can't be surprised that people are turning on him when the team set high expectations for him. When O'Connell talks about how it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the team to shorten the playbook for him. And how after one good, not great game, he comes out with all this 9 garbage. We can't be surprised people are turning on him and not having the patience that they should for him.
Right. You're right. But that's a choice to be made. The reality and the facts with that position and say 20 to 25 starts, which is something 9 to Noon has shared for many, many years, not just involving Vikings quarterbacks, but that individual spot in rookies overall. If you put a blanket on whether somebody belongs or doesn't belong 5 games into it, of course, society and fans and people, and they have that right. And quite honestly, we don't care if they execute that right or not. But the facts and the reality are, whether it's Joe Montana or Spurgeon Wynn, it's difficult to go all in on scenarios like this through just 5 games. I mean, it's easy for people to do it because nobody's going to forget whether you were right or wrong. Generally speaking, not nobody, but a large group of people.
Yeah.
But when it comes to analyzing it, assumedly for profit, and looking at examples over the course of time, is this working out exactly the way they want? Probably not at this stage, but maybe it is. I mean, I have no idea. We have no idea. But I don't recall the coach saying we're shrinking the playbook. In fact, on the other side, and we'll talk to him tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and I'll try to craft a question around this. If anything, I recall him saying we purposely are putting the young man in difficult situations.
Well, that's what the talkbacker said, too.
What did he say?
Well, you were saying he wasn't.
Oh, he's saying people are saying, "Oh, I got yeah."
No, I think the quote was how it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the team to shorten the playbook.
My bad.
Yeah, so you're in lockstep there.
Yep, heard it the wrong way. So yes, I
which creates a tougher path.
And my voice got louder, but I'm not coming at the talk backer. I'm simply saying, if Richard Sherman and whomever want to say that this is an absolute mistake. Right. Okay, in a year and a half to 2 years, nobody's going to remember what they said because only the insecure quote tweet themselves when it comes to proving a point. But secondly, nobody cares or should care. And thirdly, if you play the averages over the course of time, it and you say All-Pro HOF through 5. I don't know how right you're going to be, but I don't think it's going to be a lot. But if you say Sam Darnold, awful, doesn't belong in the league, terrible 3rd overall pick in the draft, what a bust. And then you fast forward 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it is, he did what? How did he do that? Holy cow. Wow, he got a what kind of a deal? Jeez. Wow, it's kind of Darnold and McCarthy are a little analogous here through, hopefully without the handling of the big games later in life. But there's something analogous here that I'm kind of tripping on.
Well, I would actually say, I think JJ, albeit sadly, it's ended up with more losses than wins. He's actually proved himself in the biggest moments. He decides to show up.
Yeah, but he's doing so with Christian Darrisaw, Justin Jefferson, and Jordan Addison and O'Connell calling plays. Darnold didn't have any of that. So I don't know how analogous it is to Darnold's first 5 with that Jets operation compared to the first 5 here. But there's something here.
Yeah.
But you know what? Shipping all in 5 starts into this or leaving and supposedly never coming back, even though you'll listen to and or watch the next one. But that's fine because, that's what fans do. That's what I do.
Right.
Getting frustrated at something. I forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Well, I just think there's 2 things at work here. Because you heard it in that talk back. I've seen a couple of text messages about it too. Kind of the idea, again, when you move on, you have a roster on paper that you believe is built to win now. That may or may not be, again, using some words that Orlovsky threw out there, a quarterback independent roster.
When you say you mean it's a roster you, the Minnesota Vikings, believe should and can win now.
Can contend, yes.
Vikings, not fans.
The Vikings.
I'm with you.
Right. So when the Vikings set that expectation, which you appreciate and respect, they did, despite the flop in Detroit in the wild card game. They did win 14 games last year. They got some nice players on the team. They got some nice coaching. We like the head coach in particular. He's coach of the year, and everyone's celebrating, wishing that 2025 would be better. But you have that roster. You invest in it the way you do, and I think that sets expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, so to your point, nothing has gone right, or at least maybe according to plan for the most part. But the other end of this, too, we've been begging the team to draft a QB for 2+ decades.
Well, I'm glad you're going down that road
because I think there's an element of the uncharted. here for,
And they did it with Ponder. They did it with Bridgewater.
Sadly to no avail. Ponder, ineptitude, Bridgewater. I mean, the injury. Would he have ever ascended? It's hard to say.
Yep.
We just remember a sad day off in August after the great NFC North debate. Some things changed. That brought Sam Bradford in, and it was a disaster from there. Altered the course of Teddy's career. Mm-hmm. We've been begging for this, and now it's here.
Yeah.
And I think there's an uncharted nature to it. The coach said that we had a good roster. The team won us 14 games. What are we bleeping around with this for? This is a disaster. This is awful, and I think there's some impatience there.
Well, right. And what I was going to say with those shipping all in through 5, or those, going Richard Sherman on it and bailing and daggering an opinion.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong. Patience are not required. This is how it would sound, okay, if somebody were to talk it out, not tweet it out. No, Paul and Nordo, you're wrong. Skipping the steps means nothing. And I'm telling you now that I know enough from what I've seen, and he does not belong as a starter in the NFL.
Right.
Or it's what has fairly been said while playing the averages over the course of time, but specifically the last 20 to 30 years, with through 5 games, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. We've just everything we've talked about. However, the conclusive nature of the bailing or bragging loudly is analogous to 2025. It's analogous to all in, or all out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's loud. And you either got to be on one side or the other.
Well, sitting on the fence doesn't make anybody any money.
There we go. But it's louder now,
right,
really, than it has been in a large portion of my life. And I'm 59 years old. Tell me I'm wrong. 64686. Tell me I'm wrong. Talkbacks, whatever. It's just everything's loud.
Yeah.
Politics would be the A topic, but everything's so loud that why wouldn't this be loud? People care. People care and they get loud.
Right. I think the team set a bar. We've been waiting for a long time to draft somebody top 10, highly touted, quarterback whisperer, the whole thing.
Deep quarterback draft.
Sweet roster.
Yep.
And
JJ, Jefferson.
And the way that this thing has gone, I just think has been the choose your own adventure. Every single page you turn to, you are falling off a cliff. That's what it feels like this particular season. But yes, I mean, I think.
But we're in the first chapter. Say he plays 13 years. We're in the first chapter of a 13-chapter book.
And I've already died 4 times.
Yeah, right. But I mean, clearly there's some form of resurrection that's going to transpire during the course of this, or some form of coming back to life, because he will be back to life next week.
That is correct. Yes.
But you know what?
There will be more games.
If the Minnesota Vikings, Daniel Jones off to the side, and I don't believe Jones would have come back here. With the competing for the starting job, no matter if you beat the Colts deal or not.
Right.
In fact, I feel comfortable that he would not have come back even for $5 more million to compete. He was basically given the job in Indianapolis, and it's working. Good for him.
Yeah.
You bring Darnold back, you give him a $100 million contract. I can't possibly tell you how loud it would be. Why did you draft this guy? How long do we have to wait? Why'd you do that? Why'd you waste that pick? Didn't you see the Rams game? Didn't you see the Lions game?
Yeah.
It's going to be freaking loud no matter what happens, that somebody doesn't want it to go that way.
Right.
So that's, it's after the Lions game. I mean, I'd almost rather play 10 on 11, quite honestly. And that's not to shortchange the skill set of this comeback story. It's a fantastic comeback story. It's personally speaking, and we all, since we all get our own personal proclivities that we share into microphones via 64686, social media, or talkbacks. Well, I get mine too. And that night at Detroit is one professionally I will never forget the rest of my life. Okay, so it's with Favre in 2009, another one like that. Yeah, I'm never going to forget that.
Ooh.
But you know what? He had done a lot for a lot of people for a lot of years before that.
Yeah.
So that's being pissed off. Can't wait to see you next year. The other one is being pissed off. You are who everybody said you were, and it happened to be at the biggest of the big ever to big. Mm-hmm. And that's it. I'll never forget it. And you know what? If I own this football team and you bring him back as quarterback, talking about Sam Darnold, here's the deal. I'll pay the money because I see what you're saying, and it probably will be better in the second year within the system. But if we get to a big spot and he does that again, you're fired. So make the choice. What do you want to do? You want to bring him back and roll the dice? Or do you want to move on to the kid? Now, I'm not saying that happened because it didn't. But that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Is that one scarred so badly that y'all pay the money because you think it's best, and I believe in you, man. That's why I hired you. But if that same situation happens again in the biggest of the big ever to big, you're fired. Which way you want to go, brother? It's 9 to noon. PJ Fleck is next. Sky Yuma, FM 100.3, KFAN. Thanks for listening to 9 to noon when you do. And around this time each and every week, PJ Fleck, coach of the Golden Gophers football team, joins us. Likewise, former Gophers basketball player Parker Fox, who sticks around until about 11:30. Parker Fox is in studio now to chat with PJ Fleck, who joins us now from Chicago because his Gophers have a game this weekend against Northwestern at Wrigley Field. Good morning, PJ. And I would imagine, being a Chicagoland native, you probably have spent some time watching baseball at Wrigley Field. Is that accurate? And good morning.
Good morning, PA and Parker. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was at the game. We had a high school field trip that we took, and I was at the game where Kerry Wood threw 20 strikeouts, where it started out a beautiful day, started raining, everybody left. And we had some bad seats, Chamberlain High School, we probably didn't get box seats. But by the time the game was over, we were in the boxes, man. We were right down there by the dugout. We had a blast. And just so many great memories being around Wrigley, and especially even college, not even going into the game, but driving out to Wrigley for a game, being at the Cubby Bear, and just kind of being around. So a lot of great memories. And I know, we play a really good football team coming up at Wrigley Field in Northwestern, and we're going to have to be at our best.
So that would be the time you said Kerry Wood. So is that Mark Pryor time also?
Right around that same time, yeah.
So it's Ryan Sandberg, Mark Gray, Sean Dunston, Jerome Walton, all those guys, right?
Oh, all of them. It was fantastic. Yep. And,
wow.
That was a tremendous time to be a Cubs fan.
Did you ever watch Harry Carey call Cubs games on TV?
Yeah, PA, yeah.
Okay, well, since you did an impression, may I do an impression for you of Harry Carey calling a double play ball on TV?
Oh, I would love it.
Here we go. 3-2. Double play ball. Sandberg. Hey! Hey! He doesn't say second to first, out. He just goes, hey! Hey! He
went straight to right to the results, man. Harry was the best, man. He'd go right to the results.
Yeah, he's iconic. So with Wrigley Field, how do they construct the football field? How close is it to the stands and field conditions, all that intel and all that work that you do before a game? What do you think?
Yeah, end zones are really one side, kind of like right center field. When you kind of look at it, then they bring it all the way from the left, all the way down, and then the third base line is kind of the other end zone, and they kind of smash it in there a little bit. Some of the corners are really tight and up to the ivy, but that's what makes Wrigley Field Wrigley Field. The ivy's going to come into play, and the ivy might come into play a little bit during game day. So it's part of that. But they've done a really good job of evolving when they started playing at Wrigley, because both teams had to be on the same side at one point, if I remember that correctly. And now we have normal setups, which I think they've done a better job of creating more of a realistic game day atmosphere for coaches and players when you had split sidelines before as well.
What
to keep on the sideline? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That's my bad. I was the human clipping penalty, not you. When did you guys play at Yankee Stadium? Just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah, we played Syracuse in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Does it?
That's way mobile, I should say.
So when you play at stadiums or ballparks like that, in part, at least for part of it, the stands, the crowd, they're super far away from the action. Where, like when you play at Huntington Bank Stadium or say Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado, where the stands are the closest to the teams on the sideline I've ever seen in my life. Does that in any way impact the game when the fans aren't that close to the team?
Well, I don't think so. I think atmospheres are atmospheres. Everybody has a little bit of a different atmosphere. We've played in multiple baseball stadiums over the years. Maybe not this particular team, but we played in multiple baseball stadiums, whether it was the Diamondbacks when we were out in Arizona or whether it was, again, Yankee Stadium. And so we've done it before at a lot of different venues, and it creates a different environment in its own, and it's special in its own way. And I think our guys will definitely appreciate that aspect of it.
Coach, great to be back with you. Parker Fox here. Darius Taylor back last week, looked healthy against Northwestern. How important is it to establish the run with DT? And then kind of vice versa, Northwestern ran the ball 25 plus times. Where do you feel like your run defense is right now?
Yeah, we've got to continue to grow, that's for sure. We're playing a really good team that's really physical. Northwestern's known for their mindset and their attitude and how hard they play. And they've got a lot of really good players, and they set the tone with their mentality. And we're going to have to play our best football game of the year. We need to be playing complementary football. It's not just about the run game, but it's about complementary football, about being balanced and doing what it's going to take to win that football game and setting that early and playing our best game of the year.
You guys played Oregon quite tough in that second half. What building blocks potentially were established, not only off that game, but kind of the way you guys played them in the second half?
Well, there's a lot of good to take from the game. I know the score is not going to necessarily make anybody really happy, neither with us. Nobody's more disappointed than our football team because we went there to win the football game. That's what I love about this team. They've got no problem going in any place and thinking they're going to win. Now, knowing and doing are two different things, and that's where we got to close the gap. And we got to do the things that are required to win the games, do the things that are required to start fast, accelerate middle, and finish strong. But that was a really good football team we played. You got to give them credit. I'm not taking anything away from them. But they played pretty flawless, and their athletes made incredible plays. Some contested, some not contested. But the quarterback had a special night, and when he's hot, he's hard to beat. And they played really, really well on defense. They're one of the top 5 teams after probably tonight or tomorrow. They're probably one of the top 5 teams in the country, and that's a tremendous challenge for us. And we're going to have to play as good as we've ever played to beat a team like that with them playing flawlessly, and we weren't able to do that. So lots to learn from. About what we can do as we move forward. And I think our guys came in yesterday and accepted that type of challenge and responded really well.
PJ Fleck from Chicago, Gophers, and Northwestern this weekend at Wrigley Field. Just a couple to close here for the head coach, Parker.
Yeah, Coach, this is a type of the time in the season where a lot of guys start looking forward, right? You're looking to get a certain amount of wins to try to play in a bowl game. How much is on your mind and the message that you preach to the team versus a week-to-week basis? Hey, let's go to Wrigley Field and play Northwestern and find a way to get 1-0 this week.
Yeah, I think becoming bowl eligible is a tremendous accomplishment in 2025, especially when you're in the Power 2 conferences. And there's going to be a lot of teams who aren't bowl eligible who might be used to being bowl eligible, whether in the SEC or the Big Ten. And that's what you get when you have 18 teams in the Big Ten and 16 in the SEC. I think it definitely changes, and you can feel that change of expectation based on records of fan bases. That's really difficult. So, obviously, one of our big goals was to become bowl eligible. We were able to do that for the 9th game, which is a tremendous feat for us. But we're not done playing, and we handled that after Michigan State. We checked that box, and now we need to be 1-0 in every game that we play. And you continue to elevate your bowl stock and bowl status, but we want to be the best team we can possibly be and play our best football as the season winds down here in November, because that's what you want to do. This trains you to play championship football come November when it becomes the most important.
Hey, PJ, I appreciate the text middle of the afternoon yesterday. I shared some of the context earlier, 9 to noon, about J.J. McCarthy, the Vikings quarterback, and, the you can't skip the steps part of the equation, which you've shared here, and I'm sure other places, but you've shared here about Drake Lindsay and about other inexperienced situations. So, the reason I texted you when I got to my car outside of U.S. Bank Stadium, was because I stole your bit. You just can't skip the steps if you think somebody's going to be really, really good. I stole it in the Vikings locker room and ran it by Aaron Jones and TJ Hawkinson and others, and they were in lockstep with it. And these are private conversations. Or not private, but off the microphone. And they see all the bad and good in a way we as fans don't. They believe in McCarthy and recognize no matter to be really good, you indeed can't skip the steps. So as a coach, when you scheme them open and they keep getting missed, yet there's absolutely good in the early part of the equation for this quarterback, well, how do you handle it, with the grimy part of not being able to skip the steps?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of people want to live in an ideal world and a perfect world. Football is not a perfect game nor an ideal game. There's a real piece of that. And if you talk to anyone who's really successful and has become successful, they're going to start with all the things they failed at. That's why we define failing as growth. The only way you're going to grow the most is by your scars and your failing. I played football. I've had multiple shoulder surgeries. I mean, the scars on my shoulder show a lot of hardship and show what I have been through and what I overcame. And I think that's where the not skipping steps is necessary. Anybody successful, you're going to hear all their negatives. You're going to hear all their adverse situations. You're going to hear all the doubt and the fear and that they overcame. And that's what I mean about you can't skip the steps. Because anybody successful, unless they were just handed everything, and it was generationally handed down, nobody has had it perfect. Nobody's had it ideal. And I think the harder you work through the adverse situations and the better you respond to those things, make you the player you're going to become and will create success down the road. Not promised, but give you the best chance. And at the end of the day, when you looked at it, the 2 drives to go down the field, there were 2 touchdown drives, right? That's pretty impressive to respond that way as a quarterback. That's hard to do, to get anybody to even do that, let alone do everything perfect. So taking the next right steps, not skipping any steps in that process can be frustrating from an ideal, perfect world helicopter view. But the ability and the resolve and the response and the resiliency to just keep moving forward and to keep growing and learning, that's the key to success, in my opinion.
Thanks, my brother. Tear it up this weekend. We'll talk next week.
You bet. Roll the boat, Sky Mile, go Gophers, and Skull Vikes. Thanks.
Yep. See you, bud. PJ Fleck, 9 to noon. It's 11:03. We'll keep P. Fox around, chat some basketball and football after this.